Nice.
Every time.
Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you're listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast, episode 59. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
What's up?
And a newcomer to the program, Little Orie.
How's it going?
Hey.
Hey, get up on that mic, man.
What's up?
Yeah, cool.
You didn't mic check me.
Oh, I mic checked you, dude. So, yeah. So, how's it going tonight, guys?
Pretty good, man.
Cool. So, we were working out the outline for tonight, and I was asking around, and I was asking, you guys, like, neither of you had watched the RT libertarian debate that happened this week.
Nope.
And I didn't watch it either. But, like, I did watch, like, a couple minutes of it, but it was, like, 2 hours long. So, I watched, like, a highlight video. But what was kind of interesting to me about it was neither Johnson, McAfee, or Peterson were on there.
The three frontrunners.
Yeah. So it was Daryl Perry, Mark Allen Feldman, and some other dude. I forget his name.
And this is RT.
Yep.
Russian government funded libertarian
debate.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just very weird. It's a very strange scenario.
Well, yeah, like the thing that I'm curious about is like why weren't they on there? Did they purposely pick three people that weren't on the Fox debate, or did they ask Johnson? Johnson said no, and then McAfee was like, "Well, if Johnson's not doing it, I'm not doing it." And then Peterson could be like, "Well, if they're not doing it, then I'll look like bullshit if I do it." So
I don't know. I feel like Peterson would have done it if they asked him. I mean, he seems like such an opportunist.
I mean,
he would use any chance he could get on TV.
Well, these guys are running for president. They all should look at it that way. So, like, if any of them turned down the chance to be on the RT debate, like, it kind of pisses me off.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was like an overflow debate. Like the three people that didn't get on the original one on Fox News, they were like, "Oh, well, we'll just give you a platform."
Maybe,
but I don't know. It almost seems like a waste of 2 hours.
It's kind of speculation. I'd like to find out. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Plus, it seems dumb for RT to have a debate and not invite like the people that the front runners.
Right.
Those are people want to hear from. It's not like there's been like 15 of these debates where there was just there's a couple debates on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Have you heard of RT doing other debates with, let's say, the Green Party or?
Yeah, actually, they did one with the Green Party this week too.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Was Jill Stein on it?
Yeah, Jill Stein and some other people.
Did you listen to it at all?
I watched like 10 minutes of that one too. I watched like a highlight video.
But what kind of platforms do they have?
I mean,
is it like super leftist stuff?
Yeah. I mean, leftist, socialist. Some might even call themselves communist. But what's the difference, really?
Yeah.
And so, one thing I'd say about the Green Party, they are definitely great as far as the anti-war stuff. I think that they're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And so
that's cool.
I don't know. I mean,
it's
yeah.
Then in that case, it kind of does sound like maybe they didn't invite. I don't know. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I just thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird if RT didn't invite them, and I thought it would also be weird for them to turn it down.
Yeah. I wonder how, like, the party feels about that.
I mean,
because that just makes it seem like, who are these guys? Are these the front runners now? Because they're the ones that are involved in this debate. Does that make them the front? Like to the casual person that, I mean, even though casual people don't typically watch RT, but I don't know. It just seems kind of odd.
Yeah, I think it's really confusing. And it's funny though, because I follow a lot of like libertarian media, and I haven't seen anybody like comment on that this week. So apparently nobody else is thinking about it or writing about it, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on. Trump has made several statements about like the Federal Reserve and money printing. At first he said that the U.S. should default on its debts, but now he seems to have flip-flopped and is saying that we should induce hyperinflation by printing more money.
Yeah, it's basically like I think he announced last week that the U.S. should default, and then he was criticized, by the media. So then he switches it around to, oh well, we can just print more money,
Like the total opposite.
Yeah, just more status quo.
Yeah.
Which
Well, yeah,
more of doing what's been getting done.
Right. I mean, it goes more to my point last week, and a point I'm consistently making is that how can you so the people that especially libertarians that really throw their support behind Trump. I mean, I understand when he says things like defaulting on the debt and his foreign policy, blah blah blah, all that, but as you see him flip flop more and more, it just goes to the point that is can you really take Trump at his word? I mean, he's never voted on a bill. He's never led any kind of government. How can you hold him to anything he's saying when clearly, especially on something as important as money, he has already flip-flopped.
Important as money. That's coming from the Jew.
But it is, though. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. So, little Orie, are you a big Trump fan?
I am not. No.
No. Okay.
No.
So, this is your first time on here. We've been talking a lot about the whole libertarian race. Have you been following it much?
I have, yes.
So, what are your thoughts, dude?
Everybody
wants to know, dude.
Been behind Gary Johnson. I did not know there was an actual race. I did not know anybody besides McAfee was running until recently.
Yeah.
So I'm still behind Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
I think it's interesting this year with the third party concept opening up. I think there's a possibility of having 4 guys in the race. If Clintons continue to go down their path like they have the past 10 years, I don't know who number 4 could be. I just see it polarizing even more than it has already.
So you're saying 2 third parties essentially? A fourth party?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I see it splitting.
It wouldn't really be 2/3 parties. It wouldn't be 2/4 parties. If another.
Well, no, it's the third party.
But yeah, if you were going,
So
if you were going in fractions, and if another one came
It's
in,
not
it would
fractions,
kind of be
bro.
2/4.
It's not fractions.
I'm
man.
just saying, dude. If you're going to look at it like that,
Okay.
it wouldn't be 2/3.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Democrats, who's going to support Clinton if Sanders fights to the death? Because he's staging his attack. He's positioning himself lately against Trump and not Clinton. So he's trying to say that he will be the better candidate to go swing for the Democrats.
Well, I think the Green Party has a chance. Just like the Libertarians, of course, not as great of a chance because they're not going to be on the ballot in all 50 states.
Right.
But they'll be able to pull in some Bernie supporters, hopefully. But if at the same time, it's one thing about Gary Johnson. I feel like he appeals more to the left than anybody running for the Libertarian ticket. So I don't know. That's one thing I like about him. I have a lot of friends that are I'd say they identify as libertarian in a lot of ways, but they're also a little more on the left side of things. They came to libertarianism from the left, So I think he's going to do well with people like that. I think he's going to do well with disaffected Bernie supporters. But I think Hillary Clinton would be crazy if sheer fucking insane if she didn't get Bernie to be her VP. And I think that's probably what we'll see.
Do you think Bernie would do that?
Yes.
I think O'Malley is sitting in the catbird seat for both of them.
I don't know if you think Bernie would get O'Malley to be his VP.
Bernie loves O'Malley.
Really?
If you go back and listen, O'Malley was a great champion for the Democrats. Yeah. O'Malley is basically running for his retirement right now. He doesn't have any money outside of the governor's, that whole thing that he had going on. They get to keep whatever they don't spend, pretty much.
Wait, what?
The money you raise, you get to keep if you don't spend it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, presidential candidates. So a lot of these people, when they run, they're running for their retirement. When you look at the Republican side and you have 9 guys running, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. But their friends are spreading the pie, spreading the money, doing fundraisers. It's money in their pocket. They're not spending it. They don't. They don't.
You
They
just
don't
get to
need
keep it?
Yeah,
I always wondered that.
Yeah, they pretty much get to keep it.
That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dude, where should it go, man?
Waste of
Should it go to taxes? If there's anybody I wouldn't feel guilty about taxing, it would be those guys.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
We should probably just
I
not
think
have
it would-
political races.
Go
Yeah.
towards efforts of transparency, voting transparency. There was an article recently of a hacker in South America. There was an article recently about a hacker in South America who traveled fixing elections.
He traveled around fixing elections.
Fixing elections, yeah. Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, pretty much wherever the money was needed and the votes were going. There's no security. That's the one thing that's been proven in the last 4 or 5 years. There's no security anywhere. If you want in, you can get in. It was Stalin always said it doesn't matter who you're voting for, it matters who's counting the votes.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 50 million people died. That seems to be the cycle with the social movements of the last 100 years. If you don't agree with me, you're going to die. And they list people and they get their children in schools to rat them out. That's what history shows us.
It's yeah. So speaking about Gary Johnson, we're kind of wondering here why Ron Paul has not yet endorsed Gary Johnson, or
Yeah.
if he will. Now, I mean, it may be too early for him to endorse him because he's not technically the chosen candidate. Although
Yeah, he didn't endorse him in 2012,
Right.
But and then at the same time, Ron Paul just he was just interviewed I think in the past couple of weeks by somebody, and I saw him say something like libertarians should vote for the Libertarian Party. So
Right.
you know, it kind of was a soft endorsement, I'd say, you know,
yeah,
like even just to say that. But my guess was that Ron Paul never endorsed Johnson in 2012 because Johnson's pro-choice.
oh, you think that's what it is?
That's always been my guess. Because, I mean, you know, what else could there be?
Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, because they're basically saying the same thing on every other issue.
Yeah, or most things. I think Ron's more principled. You know, I think
yeah.
Ron's definitely more well-read.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
far
Ron's
as, like,
really an
the
anarchist.
philosophy. Well, yeah, I mean, was pretty close to it. You know,
Yeah.
he's just well-read on the philosophy, and I think Gary Johnson's more practical. But you know, I would think that Ron should surely be able to acknowledge that Gary Johnson's 100 huge steps in the right direction.
Yeah,
You know, compared to what we have, and you know, and especially as far as being, you know, the best person on the ballot in all 50 states. So, yeah, I would like to see Ron Paul endorse Gary Johnson.
what do you think that would do? Do you think that would, affect, convince people to vote for Gary Johnson?
Well, actually, you know, my probably one of my greatest wet dreams would be to have Ron Paul run as
running
Gary
mate?
Johnson's VP. Yeah.
See that? Yeah.
That'd be fucking cool. Or even if, even greater than that, I think if if Gary Johnson stepped aside and let Ron Paul take his place,
Yeah.
because I mean, I just think that would get so much press and attention, and and of course Ron Paul's the fucking shit.
Yeah.
But you know, of course, I doubt that's going to happen.
No.
You know, but that would be pretty badass. I think that would be the best case that libertarians could hope for.
Sure.
So it sucks that can't happen.
Yeah. So yeah, or you wanted to talk about the Maryland flag?
The Maryland flag. Have you heard the news?
What's the news?
The news is it's going to be replaced.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's racist.
Is it racist?
It's racist. To the core, the Maryland flag is racist.
Is it like the Confederate flag is racist?
Well, excuse me. I've always had a problem with the Maryland flag because it's the only flag in the country on the state level that is British nobility, family colors. Nothing ever changes in Maryland is something I always say. Now, the Maryland flag as we know it today is the attachment of two separate flags. You have the Lord Baltimore, which is the black and gold orange color section, and then the red and white section of the flag, which I forget, I don't know off the top of my head what that section is called, but that's the one in question. During the Civil War, Maryland was the border state. The state was pretty much forced to go the side of the federal government, and I think since the Civil War, Maryland has really, in essence, been a federal state, if not the only one in the country. Now, the soldiers in Maryland, the locals who went and fought with the South, they fought under that red and white flag. It had local history, local attachment, and they used that with the regiments when they merged with Virginia. The problem comes 40 years later, after the war, when the flag is still used by the Southern separatist movements, and the Maryland legislature votes to create this new flag by merging two pieces. Initially, I thought it was a sign of moving past times.
Yeah.
Putting the hatchet to bed. If that same year, that same state legislature did not vote to take voting rights away from African Americans. So you have a racist state government flying a flag that stood for soldiers who supported the Southern slave war.
But doesn't that also go towards the whole Confederate flag argument as well?
It does. Yeah.
So I don't know, man, because I've always, my take on the Civil War has, since I was a teenager, is I just read into it, and the Civil War just wasn't about slavery. It was like an issue that was going on.
Agreed.
But it wasn't the main issue. And I feel like the history books, like when I was brought up in school, they always try to say Civil War was about ending slavery, and it was so great because it ended slavery. But it's that's probably the worst way to end slavery. Plenty of places around the world ended slavery without a huge civil war and having more people die than any other war that we've had. So I kind of reject that part of it. I think it was about the South trying to break away from a tyrannical government. And nobody's perfect, and slavery's fucking horrible. Possibly one of the worst things that, if not the worst thing that ever happened in America. There's been plenty of bad things, but it's probably the worst.
Right.
I'm disappointed, of course, that it was ever allowed to begin with, but I just never felt that the Civil War was really about slavery.
I think
it's more about economics.
I think you're right. Right on the head. It goes a little bit deeper than slavery. You look at the systems that were created in the state of Maryland. How long has Baltimore City been in control of Democrats? And it is a virtual ghetto. That's something that doesn't just happen overnight. That's created with economic policy over decades. And if you think about it, the disenfranchising African American voters at the turn of the century, it was only a 50-year period between that moment and the Baltimore ghettos.
It's kind of been my understanding, or maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, after the riots in the '60s in Baltimore, it was kind of under my understanding that it was like the city was pretty much like just never built up after then. Like a lot of people just got scared and moved out, and
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you, Jared?
I don't know a whole lot about the history of Baltimore.
Yeah, we just live here, folks.
Yeah, I just live there. I don't know. I mean,
Old money.
old money. You said?
A lot of old money. Yeah.
Yeah.
In politics, all you got to do is go to Wikipedia and start clicking the names. See who's around. See who they're connected to. It goes back 100 years.
Wow.
It always does. The whole state of Maryland.
Huh.
Same names. Stephanie Rawlings Blake. She's old money. Old family.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. All right. You also wanted to talk about DARPA
DARPA.
and the darknet search engine.
Darknet search engine. I saw a cool video on YouTube detailing DARPA's creation of a Tor search engine,
The Tor search
the
engine.
Tor Onion search engine, the deep web, as they say, 75-80% of the internet is below the surface, if not more.
So, like, who is DARPA?
DARPA is the. You remember Sputnik when that beep went across the world? When Russia or the Soviet Union, USSR, launched their first satellite?
Uh-huh.
DARPA was created in response to Sputnik, to the launch of that satellite. It is the Advanced Research Lab of the military. These are basically the Apple guys of the military.
Okay.
They have a black budget, unlimited funding. If you go on YouTube and look at some of their videos of the tech that they do have, that's what's going to trickle out into society in the next 20, 30 years. The government had fax machines 20 years before the public was sending fax machines. They were working on televisions before the public ever knew about it. The technology always trickles down from the top. And DARPA's the guys who apply this technology towards weapons and communication systems first, and then it gets perfected and trickles down from that point. Now, this search engine, this deep web search engine, in the aspect that I saw it demonstrated, they were able to visually graph human trafficking in the United States.
That's conducted online?
Online, yes.
Okay.
So what it would do is, let's use Craigslist as an example that would be easy for people to understand and visualize. You post an ad. You want to sell your car, and you post it in Baltimore, Annapolis, Owings Mills. And then you post an ad as well saying you're selling rims, 4 rims. You post that in Baltimore. This program is able to connect all of your ads together as a web, that you're selling the rims from your car.
Gotcha.
It's been pretty much able to create a web. So that's what the in the case of the trafficking, when somebody posts an ad, it's able to connect all those dots from that one user, and they're basically able to do 400 years of police work in minutes.
Wow.
And you got to think, if they have that for human trafficking 2 years ago, what else do they have those modules for? What else are they tracking? The big question is if the moral dilemma behind this. If we knew 2 years ago who all the human traffickers were in 2013, and I didn't hear on the news about them all being arrested or killed in raids or secret government search warrants issued to
So
find
they're just
out who
letting
they
these
are.
People, they're just letting these people roam free. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the 1% was a big movement the past couple years. There's 1% of power, control, money, wealth. I have a theory of 10%. There's 10% of the population who enables that 1% to function. We put them in power. They feed off of us. They pitch the ball at us. In a sense, we're the crowd swinging, cheering them on, and there's not a lot of us. What I'm saying is that the sex traffickers they're in that top tier. All you have to do is Google the European United Kingdom sex scandals of the past 2 years. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom came out and said that they cannot publicly acknowledge it to the extent of what happened because the citizens will rise up and kill the crown.
What?
Yes.
What, what, politicians were involved
in child sex rings. I'm talking about blood to the Queen of England.
Really?
Blood relation to the Queen of England. They went into the schools, to the orphanages. And it doesn't just happen in the United Kingdom and in Europe because it's very bad over there. That's why you see Russia's policies lately. Putin's policies, they come off as anti-gay, anti-homophobic.
Yeah.
When in reality...
What do you mean, pro-homophobic?
Excuse me, yes, I'm sorry. Pro-homophobic. But in reality, if you read his speeches and his transcripts, he wants to protect kids, which I fully support him 110%. And not a lot of people come out and say that. And I say...
Wait, how do you support kids by being homophobic?
Not at all. What I'm saying is that there's an organized ring attacking children in this world. We've known it. We've seen it. We hear about it. It's on TV all the time, selectively. If you go onto my Facebook page, one of the last articles that I shared was how Bill Clinton, our former president, took 26 plane rides on the Lolita Express child sex plane.
What is it? Who runs the Lolita Express?
It was Epstein was the guy's name.
Epstein. So was this plane found and busted? Or?
I'm pulling it up. He's in jail now for underage sex offenses overseas.
So who posted this article?
Oh, hold on. Daily Mail UK, which a lot of people bash UK news, but they're I swear by UK news.
I mean, the Daily Mail, from my experience with it, I mean, it's not like a rag, but it's also, right. It does have a lot of detractors. It does have a conservative bent to it, which isn't per se a bad thing, but
yeah, everything has its own twist.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, it's frightening.
So you're implying that the real 1% are just
they're above the law.
They're above the law, but they're also mostly sex offenders.
Yeah, putting it to the standards that everybody else is held to.
Yeah.
I view it in a way as like an energy thing. When you see these people and meet these people, their power, they feed off of what they own, what they have and what they can't have. There's no telling these people what they can't have. I feel really, I almost feel bad for some of these people growing up with that much power and influence. It's got to be a fucked up head of a kid to be in these blood and money lines.
Yeah.
Growing up with that, but it's just the same thing that we see in our society is the cycle of abuse and the cycle of hurt.
Yeah.
And they feed energy wise off of younger people. In George H.W. Bush's White House in the late 90s, or I'm sorry, the early 90s, late 80s, there were male underage pages, callboys, going in and out of the tunnels of the White House, escorts. Pretty much every administration has examples.
Have you heard of any of this before?
No, I've never heard of that before.
I mean, I'll be honest, it sounds a little Alex Jonesy.
Well,
do you have the documents?
I do. I do have the documents. And the thing is, if the creepy guy down the street, every 10 years gets found with 10 kids in his basement, what about the kids that are disappearing that we don't hear about on TV and the news? The runaways, the kids on these apps who are meeting people, they don't know who they are. Their parents don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's too plowed into their phone. Somebody's kid could disappear for days before they even knew what was going on. Yes, here we go. Bill Clinton, much closer to pedophile island than previously known. Fox News, Daily Core, Breitbart, Jeffrey Epstein, lavish child sex orgies on a Caribbean island.
Lavish child sex orgies. That's fucked up, man. Yeah. Well, that's fucking dark as shit, dude.
Yeah, these guys want what they can't have.
Jesus. Well.
But it gets into that. This correlates to the DARPA, dark web, Google thing. What has Edward Snowden taught us? Everything is tracked. Everything is database. Everything is marked. Everything has a number. Everybody has a tag.
Yeah.
Right. Why in the hell aren't these people in jail? What I want to know is if there were a Donald Trump president, is he going to use these lists?
What, you think Donald Trump is excluded from the 1%?
No, what I'm saying is if the right person gets in power, how can they use the powers? That's always been the fear after 9/11 was, well, if this president gets this power, this executive power, and it grows, the next president's not going to give it away. No president has ever given up power.
Yeah,
right.
they constantly just advance it and build upon it. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So who's going, like Ron Paul, both of them have always said they come in, the first thing they do is they cut the executive orders. They get rid of them. Trump is saying that we're going to do a lot of things, but he doesn't say what we're going to do. Because, I always think we're 60 days away from the Hunger Games on any given day. All it takes is one scapegoat. We've seen it before with Jews. It takes one group of people. My big fear in the United States is you stop sending the weed offenders to jail in your drug offenders to jail, and you start treating them medically, and then they are going to clean up society through the internet. Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't follow you on that last part. So
Okay.
you were saying what we ought to do is what you just said, right?
Is that... I don't know if I'm endorsing it or if I'm... What I'm saying is we have all this data and we know everything. Why isn't it being used to make the proper examples? You can't tell me that the NSA did not know that coach in Pennsylvania was abusing kids serially. You can't tell me that they didn't know that was happening.
Well, I mean, doesn't it also say that, like, with the bulk data collection, I mean, they're collecting everybody's data, But I mean, do you honestly believe that they have like the capability to really read it all and understand it all? Or
It's targeted. It's if they want to read you. So they're
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but I mean,
from
if
what
there
I've
was
always-
no
from what I've
reason to
understood
believe-
about bulk data collection, it's
Yeah.
basically okay. It's all there, but it's a needle in a fucking haystack.
yeah. Well, okay. How easy it is to get a list of 10,000 professors in the country. Let's say I want a list of every professor. You get every EDU email address, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then you throw them into a system, a database that now what it does is it's a flag system. It pings up. This isn't. I'm not speculating. I know
Okay.
what happens
Huh.
in these flagging systems. You know, the threat analysis.
But I
you
mean,
know?
if they don't know that they're looking for a sex offender that's also a professor, then how do you expect them to find that?
It's
Or are you just saying globally, if they can through maybe
it's
monitoring
a lot,
people's
it's a lot more advanced. It's, let's say they're taking a lot more metadata. They're taking the data from your internet, your cell phones,
Right.
You're tracking yet.
So wait-
but
so
they're
wait.
comparing it to other data. They're comparing it to every data that they've ever had. They're comparing it to your school notes, the notes that was taken about you in schools, because the public school system is a recruitment system. I was recruited out of high school. I did not join. I have many friends who were my high school, North County, right in Glen Burnie. It's on the news monthly, all the time. It's always on the news.
what is?
North County High School. It's a STEM program: science, engineering,
Oh, okay.
technology, math. There's always a kid there now inventing something, or some new programs being instituted there. But there's a lot more data being gathered and sent up the stream than people
So
realize.
what you're saying is like they kind of figure out whatever algorithm they need to use on the data to determine a sex offender, and then they just apply that to a certain range of the data.
Exactly.
And then if it pings,
Exactly.
okay. So what you're saying is
This is
they
all-
should have went off for. It wasn't Joe Paterno, although he was the head coach, but it was
right.
the other guy.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
It should have went off. And then you're gonna see this, and this leads to my another point, is news creation and control. Because if they know the news stories in advance, are these stories pre-written? Matt Drudge, the Drudge Report,
Yeah.
he uses an algorithm. He will sit there and say that he does not use an algorithm, but I have been watching his website since before 9/11. I'm an Aspie. I intake data. I see patterns. It's what I've seen my entire life. I couldn't verbally communicate until I smoked cannabis when I was 21. I couldn't speak what I saw in my head. So I see things and feel things and patterns and trends that I can't describe, but I know it's real and I know it exists. For example, I saw a YouTube video in 2003 of a guy speaking, and I said, he's a real good speaker. And I said, all right, he's running for election. All right, 2004, 2008. Bush wins in 2004 because we've never voted out a wartime president. This guy's going to win in 2008. He's our next president. This was in 2003. Barack Obama was his name.
And you saw a video of him as
It was a state senator,
State
I believe.
senator,
Yeah, when he was very young. So
wait, what did you see on Drudge Report?
Drudge Report is, he spits out the same freaking content in the same links over and over again for years, and he creates the same spin, the same story. Matt Drudge is nothing but a link curator, right? That's all he does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just spinning shit back and forth, and he's actually been able to control the temperature of politics in this country by doing that. And I guarantee you, Matt Drudge archives every single website every day. You could colorize and map the way his language changes on his website the wordage, because there'll be one day at noon, it'll be the theme of the progressives are coming, and then later that evening, it's AI is taking over.
Yeah.
And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, a goddamn nuke was launched in Israel, and it just disappears at 6. Like, the man has to be stopped. He's sick. This is Matt Drudge. It's disgusting. Now, what I was talking about a little bit earlier about the database, metadata, figuring out what everybody's doing, because that's the big thing is, oh, well, I'm not doing anything, so I don't care if you track my data. Figuring out what people are doing is classic blackmail technique. That's why we have security clearances, because the Soviets would blackmail our government employees. Oh, they figured out Tom's gay, so Tom now works for the Soviets.
Right.
So we would investigate our people before giving them badges to figure out if they had any dirt that could be dug up. And that has been taken to the extreme now. The past 30, 40 years. The Soviet Union, their infiltration techniques has actually turned America into a closed country, a closed nation, instead of a free and open nation. Modern events correlates to the Cold War more than what people are seeing right now.
So you're saying like ripples from the Cold War are still shaping politics?
Oh, it's not ripples. The same damn hands stirring the pot still.
Oh.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Russia is behind anti-American hatred and seeding in the Middle East, because it's a battle for resources, oil over there. Russia wasn't able to excavate or pump out their frozen oil yet. So they were still playing around in the Middle East in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
But that was Stalin's greatest plan, was to create a communist America. It was the communists who were pushing the United Nations. They're the reasons why we have to deal with the United Nations now. They were the ones who really pushed the idea. A lot of people like the idea of being able to prevent world wars and genocide and crap like that, but it hasn't been prevented at all.
Yeah.
I mean, could you charge the United Nations with war crimes for genocide? Like, who do you go to? The International Human Court.
Right.
These are big questions that have to be asked in the future, I feel like, going forward. The Bill of Rights is gone. Let's stop Rand Paul's speeches on which number he agrees on. The Magna Carta was shit on. You're going to see a new breed of human rights activists rise up in the next couple years. They're being born now and they're being cultivated. The Democrats are cooking them up, and the Republicans cook them up with their religious freedom guys, and they're cooked up in all sectors, but the hand that feeds them is control, and they're always going to bite it. No matter who, people or if you want to call it that, they're waking up. If you want to get into the spiritual sense of things. This is going to be the year that Americans figure out that elections are rigged one way or another.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. I figured it out the hard way in 2012 when I was in the Ron Paul campaign.
Were you working in the campaign?
I was working independently of the campaign. I was not directly. I made flyers and kind of went word of mouth. I wanted to create an LGBT coalition in the Ron Paul campaign to kind of punch the liberals in the balls a little bit. I got into the campaign after the election more, because I was planning on going local at that time, but I ended up retiring after about a month or so.
Hmm.
It was not my cup of tea.
No.
Yeah. I've had this buzz in my ear for the past year. It's called the Articles of Humanity. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I don't know what the writing is or what it's going to turn into. But if you think of these guys like Jefferson and Madison, the circumstances that push them to create what they did, it was how radical was it in the 1700s to be saying the things that they said, to be sitting in those rooms worried that the king was listening, that his spies were listening.
Right.
Who are going to be the masons laying the pillars of this next millennium?
Are you talking about like the Freemasons?
Where's the conspiracy, John?
Ooh.
Get him on here.
Yep.
That's some deep shit, man.
So, little Orie, dude. So
What's up?
I hear that you are into urban farming.
Sorry.
Herbs.
What are you farming over there?
I am farming kale. I have a lot of Native American varieties. I like focusing on fruits and vegetables cultivated in the indigenous Americas, because there are over a couple thousand types of fruits and veggies that the Native Americans cultivated in the United States that is wild in the country now that we don't know about. And we actually have to go out and rediscover these fruits and veggies.
Wow.
And recultivate them to grow for us. They have these varieties of yams that grow like 20, 30 pounds in the ground.
Wow.
That's how we're going to feed the world going forward.
So these yams grow 20 to 30 pounds?
Yes, absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
And where'd you say? I'm sorry, I'm a little blazed. So these are Native Americans that were doing this?
Yes, Native Americans did it.
Did they still do it?
The whole genocide and the fact that they were dumbed down,
Yeah.
which became a role model for Hitler's re-education system, was the Native American boarding schools. Little known fact. But here, look at corn. If you're eating a big chunk of corn on the cob, not a Monsanto genetically modified, like an organic piece of corn on the cob. Corn is a grass. It is native to the grasslands, and humans cultivated it as a grain. And over the thousands and thousands and thousands of years, they noticed it was getting bigger. So they were like, okay, well, let's pick the biggest one and then plant the seeds of that one. And then they plant the biggest and the biggest and the biggest, and that was selective breeding. Thousands of years later, we have corn.
Right.
So corn is a man-made creation. Now the same goes. I'm gonna blow your mind. Are you ready? What if I told you that the redwoods and the sequoias, 100% man-made? Man is the reason why those trees are so tall.
Because they just kept planting the biggest trees.
And they would burn out the trunks. And at low temperature, they would burn the trunks to stimulate growth. So they would damage it and scar the tree. That's why the trunks were so big. So the roots would just be massive. And the natives also learned that if they took their shellfish and they put it at the base of the trees and they built it up, that it would deteriorate over the years and decompose and feed the trees. So they actually had regenerative agricultural systems in the United States. When Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders and all those guys went out west and they found all these majestic lands, Yosemite, Yellowstone, and he said, well, we got to save these. We got to preserve them. We weren't preserving nature. We were not preserving wilderness. We were preserving the monuments in the spiritual lands of the Indians, of the natives. Those were lands that they had cultivated for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yosemite just did not get beautiful. Nature doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Huh.
Nature doesn't have an eye like that.
Right. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's, I really got into food. I got into urban gardening first. My last name's Lawn, Lawn. So I thought, well, that'd be really funny to have a company that grew food, and I could kill the lawn because I hate cutting the grass. And then that grew into something much, much, much bigger. I had an extremely deep, progressive spiritual awakening. I guess my entire life I've been experiencing it. I'm now a practicing shaman.
Yeah.
A shaman uses plants to alter their state of consciousness. It could be something as simple as cannabis, to mushrooms, to herbs that you drink before bed that gives you wicked dreams. And once again, back to my, not being able to verbalize until I smoked weed.
Yeah.
Now, then I got into permaculture, which is permanent agriculture. Essentially planting plants that come back, that's edible, year after year after year. Think about public parks. Going in and ripping out the underbrush and planting berry bushes and fruit trees and pears and cherries. And, it's going to take... We'll need to retrain the entire society on how to grow food, but thankfully it's not rocket science. And we have the internet, and we have iPhones.
Like, is there anything stopping you legally wise from planting fruit trees in public parks?
There's a guerrilla movement of grafting trees in public parks. So they go and cut a branch off, and you can actually graft another branch onto it. So you can basically take an apple branch and put it onto a maple tree. And then the maple tree is going to all of a sudden, over the years, grow apples. It's it's a guerrilla movement.
It's impossible for someone to detect that, right?
If you're looking for it, but
it's not something
is it illegal though to go and plant a tree in a public park?
If planting plants is illegal, then
no, I'm wondering if it is though.
Probably.
What is the law?
I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure you just can't tamper with public property. You couldn't go dig a hole in the ground.
Well, yeah, but if you are the public and
You're
supposedly, if you're funding it, if you own it as much as anybody, why can't you plant a fucking tree in your park? I was wondering if there is a law against that or not. It wouldn't shock me if there was. I might even assume that there is, but I don't know.
We can find out.
It'd be cool if there wasn't.
We could find out pretty quickly.
See if we get arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just have this vision of, I have rabbits at home now. We just had a baby a couple weeks ago. Rabbits are the best fertilizer for plants. I feed them alfalfa hay. Alfalfa has a plant hormone in it that becomes concentrated when the rabbit eats it. And it comes out the other end, and it's supercharged. I have a compost pile that's 115 degrees right now. It's a tornado of steam coming out.
Really?
And it's going to be the richest plant nutrition. We can grow tomatoes this big. The problem with our food in our cancer industry is the soil. Our food is not nutritious. There's no nutrients in grocery store food because we've been using chemical fertilizers for the past 70, 80 years, and it's been destroying the soil. Now, they're focusing on this chemical composition of what makes food good when they haven't been focusing on the biology of the soil. the microbes and the fungus and the bacteria that gets cooked together and adds all those components to great food. There are hundreds of varieties of tomatoes and flowers and peas and beans and watermelons and greens that the public has never seen before. Excuse me.
You're excused.
And the other side of that, the trees are attacking me with this pollen.
Yeah.
Whew, it's
They're
brutal.
rebelling.
Yeah, they are. It really makes me wonder, because I've read an article of a weed that has evolved to start attacking humans, attacking their eyes. Now, who's to say that trees aren't doing the same thing?
Attacking their eyes?
Yeah, it attacks our eyes.
With what? Pollen?
Pollen, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I argue right now that trees have evolved, and that's what's going on with allergies. And we haven't been outside in the last 50 years. Indoor air is the number one human health risk. The chemicals from your carpets and everything like that getting into the air. LEED certification buildings, the green buildings.
Yeah.
They're sealed up so tightly, they're chemical cocktails, so the gases don't leave the building. So they're actually poisoning people.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but as it's coming to me.
Wait, so I have a question. So
Yeah.
you had said that because you said you have Asperger's, correct?
Undiagnosed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then you said before, like, you couldn't really vocalize, like, at all? You couldn't talk, or you couldn't really...
I was unable to express what I felt. I was unable to separate other people's emotions and feelings from my own.
Gotcha.
So I could walk into a room full of people and I would feel everything.
So then when you
Yeah.
first smoked weed, that you were able to control that better?
Exactly. But the bigger concept, I had PTSD for 10 years before I smoked weed. When I was 13, I was set on fire. I had a flaming can of gasoline thrown on me. I jumped in a pool. I was pushed in a pool. I have a flashback memory that lives with me to this day. I had an out-of-body experience. I saw myself in front of me from a different perspective, touching the ground and getting an Olympic sprinter stance to run to the pool. And I did not do that. I did not touch the ground. I went right to the pool. But I had an out-of-body experience of... It was almost like my energy was pulled out of my body, and it was like, all right, when you go back in, you're running to the pool full steam. And that's what saved my life, that reaction. That
So
gut
wait,
reaction.
who threw
My neighbor. Yeah.
on purpose?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, we used to play around with fire here and there. Just bonfires, being dumbass kids. It was the Iraq War. It had just started a couple weeks before then. So I was pretty into that, into war and stuff like that. So I don't know if that really played into it or not. The psychology behind why are these dumbasses soaking splash balls and gas and jumping over them.
I mean, I used to play with fire. Fuck that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure every kid
It's
plays
like
with fire now.
Fireworks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So he
but I
threw the
got-
fire on you, and then you instantly like bolted to the pool?
Yep, bolted the pool. My dad was an EMT, so I went home and covered it up, created a story, and then the kid moved a week later.
So did you have like 30-degree burns all over your body?
Second degree over my left arm, from my wrist all the way up, elbow, hair. It was pretty nasty. But then I developed PTSD, flashbacks. It was horrible. 4 years of high school.
Damn.
I say now when somebody says, what does it entail being a shaman? I was like, well, kind of the fact of the matter is I didn't kill myself all those years. Even when I was younger, I almost died from tooth abscesses because I was not able to verbalize that something was wrong. I didn't know what a toothache was. these events have really pushed me along this path of health and eating and human rights, animal rights. I stopped eating meat about 10 months ago, and the mental clarity has been enormous.
So do you have to keep smoking weed in order to
Yes.
like maintain?
I break down when I don't smoke. I've quit jobs before when I stopped smoking weed. And the bitch of the matter is our lovely Governor Hogan, who has so gracefully blessed us with shitting on Maryland's cannabis medical laws, and he has the audacity to sit down in Annapolis and talk about heroin reform and how we're going to save our communities when he puts a state police officer in charge of the medical cannabis program, and he is pro-war on drugs, and he is breaking up minority communities for smoking a plant.
Right.
He's now in charge of that program. I have a serious issue with that. I have been in the talks of launching a nonprofit called the Green Warrior Foundation.
The Green Warrior?
The Green Warrior Foundation, yes. For PTSD treatment, advocating the use of psychedelics, not just cannabis, but they're saying that psilocybin mushrooms,
MDMA.
exactly, or a tip of your fingertip of mushrooms every day, microdosing, does amazing things for alcoholics, depression, anxiety. Those things are those triggers that humans have pushed right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you yourself do mushrooms?
I do not yet.
Yeah.
I love studying them. I have
You've
not,
never done them?
I've not been able to source them. You know, I'd like to get chop up a little bit and do one a day because I hear it's like the euphoria of cannabis without the.
Yeah, I've done them quite a few times.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
They're pretty awesome.
I
I mean, you can
they're
have
gifts,
They're a little temperamental.
right?
And I mean, of course, it's all has to do with the dosage, and where they're grown, the strain or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can have there can be negativity on it. It's not always euphoric. But
So, what's like a typical
microdosing.
dose of
It's a
mushrooms look like,
lesson.
dude?
And
I mean, it depends.
Jared the druggie.
I mean,
eighth is
yeah, I mean, an eighth is
usually-
like a good amount.
You want to make sure that
Like
you trip.
show me like how many?
Like an
Okay,
eighth
so it's
would
like
be-
an eighth of weed, but instead mushrooms. Like,
I mean, it's hard to because they're literally mushrooms. So it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, like a handful, I guess.
really? Okay, so what if you just did like he was saying, like a little Orie was saying,
I mean,
like
you'll
a
get
small like fingertip of you're saying like a small size like that.
how would I describe it?
There,
Like,
there's research coming out of Hopkins,
Yeah.
proving what that small dosage was. But sorry to cut you off.
oh, you're fine.
Well, I'm just curious. Like, what if you just did a extremely small amount and you just got like a little bit of a feeling off of it? Like, what?
Yeah, I
that
mean,
be
it would
like?
basically just be like a slight euphoria,
Huh.
Yeah,
which is why it's good for like anxiety and depression.
it's like a mental clarity and organization. It's like exosensory.
It's basically just like a natural medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Well, your hair is a part of your neural network. There was a Indians. They during Vietnam, they picked up Indians off of reservations so they could be trackers against the Viet Cong because we were outgunned, outnumbered. They had the terrain. They'd been there thousands of years. They brought Indians and they took them to boot camp and they shaved their head and they shaved their face and then they put them in the tracking school and they were getting killed during the mock trials. They couldn't figure out what was going on, so they brought more trackers from the natives and they said, well, what did we change? The only thing that they changed was their hair and their beard. So then the VA and the DOD started doing research on the hair. You've seen Avatar, right?
Yeah.
The movie Avatar?
Mm-hmm.
Avatar is based on research from Earth. the connectivity, and all the trees on the planet are connected via mushrooms. They talk to each other, they learn, they organize, they share information, they give each other warnings of a wildfire is coming, or if there's a disease coming. If one's being cut down, they'll organize their research or their tools together. And it's the mushrooms that's connecting the root systems.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So we're really gonna get into an age of plant rights soon, because scientists are actually scared at the fact that
Plants might
are
be conscious.
Exactly. It freaks them out.
Well, that's the thing
'Cause then
too.
we're not-
That's the whole thing that when people get, like, I mean, you were saying how you stopped eating meat, but the thing is, like, some people, like a lot of vegans, do that because, they want to limit the suffering of animals. But how do we know that we aren't, when we eat a piece of broccoli or kill a piece of broccoli, that it's not feeling some sort of pain?
There is no such thing as veganism on the face of the planet. Plants eat plants. That
Right.
is the natural cycle
Right.
of the earth.
Exactly.
That includes animals. Decaying animals go into the soil. The soil is carnivorous.
Mm-hmm.
It's alive. It eats things. It breaks it down.
So then is your reasoning for giving up meat, is that just purely nutritious or
karma.
karma?
Well, I mean, wouldn't the same bad karma hit you if you're eating vegetables? And
Yeah, that's
causing
what I'm
them
saying.
pain?
No, it's different. Plants are different than something that is on the same level of us that's abused and tortured. I don't really have a problem with eating humane meat like the natives did.
So like on like a grass-fed local farm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Happy animals.
Yeah.
Treat them like family until the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people view it as a sport. I think it has to do with the whole dehumanization of things. One of my big debates with abortion is, what has murdering babies done to society over 40, 50 years? Because when I was growing up, I remember dead baby jokes in elementary school. I don't think it's healthy to have 6-year-olds talking about dead babies and joking about dead babies and not being able to understand the difference, because those 16-year-olds are going to be pregnant in 10 years aborting children. And if we don't love animals, I don't want to sound like a hippie or a liberal or something like that, but if we don't love animals,
Too
how
late
in the
then.
hell could we love ourselves? It sounds so cliche.
No, I get what you're saying.
But
I mean, it's just consciousness.
it's your dog looks so comfy over there on the sofa. I'm so glad it's not a meat pig.
A meat. Yeah, well, I mean, it's consciousness in different forms, and if
Right.
it's, I mean, the problem is we don't know what it's like to be a cow. We don't know that
Yeah.
if it's self-aware, if it even has an experience of pain. But we have to sort of assume. At least that's what I would argue. We have to kind of assume that since it has a brain that's similar to ours in some respects, and it behaves in a certain way, then in all likelihood, it does have the experience of pain, and thus shouldn't have to experience it.
Right.
Now, I don't think that means that we can't kill and eat them, but
I quit.
it should be humanely done.
Right. I quit my last job, PetSmart. I was stocking and all that, making money on the side, because they were in bed with this company called Holmes up in Pennsylvania, Holmes Farms, and they were gassing rabbits and small animals, like freezing them to death, gassing them.
Like just for
Systematically.
vermin, or
Just if they didn't sell them or if they were
Oh.
diseased or something like that. And PetSmart has a strict policy of not selling animals, but they sell small animals and things like that. And when I saw the video, because I have rabbits, at home. And, you know, when I'm sitting there and I'm seeing rabbits, you know, do this and fall over because they're being gassed by my employer who's pro-animals and pro-love, it was just... in the fact that they didn't step away and they didn't distance themselves from it and they didn't change their supply line. It was absolutely mind-boggling to me.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. You know, it really is. PetSmart's a fucked up company because Mars, the food company conglomerate, owns the vet in PetSmart. So people come in and they buy cheap food made and sourced in China with heavy metals that's poisoning their dogs. That's causing their dogs to live 6-7 years. And then they, your dog's not feeling well. You should make an appointment with their vet.
What brands are like that? All the main ones, or?
Purina, Iams, all the cheap ones. If it had a jingle from the 90s... it goes for human food too. Blue Buffalo, they say, is, you know, the premier dog food now. But Blue Buffalo was a marketing company that came out of the pet food scandal. That's their tagline. But in reality, they were involved in the pet food scandal of 2007 too. So they're not angels. The whole industry is screwed up. Dogs did not evolve millions of years to eat pieces of kibble. They're meat eaters. Bottom line, there's a company in Baltimore called Canine Cravings who makes dog food. It's above human grade dog food. So it's expensive.
Yeah,
as you can
imagine. That's the problem is people don't typically want to spend that much on a pet. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to spend just enough to keep it alive and keep it healthy enough, and then
right.
You know. But I mean, it's better than the life it would live like out in the wild. So there is that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's about it for this week. And little Orie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been a lot of fun, interesting discussion. We hope you'll come back again.
Yeah, shameless plug Twitter. Do you guys use Twitter?
Sure.
Mine at Birds Fall Silent. Self-explanatory.
Check them out.
Silent Spring, Instagram too. Birds Fall Silent. I have a blog coming. I'm starting a YouTube. I have some cool things coming up this year.
Cool. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, until next time, live free.
The blood that is shed, drenching the flags of the tax bombs in red, was its way of viewing the expense of the many. So do the gods in the death machine. You can't justify killing by economic gain. For God, country, and democracy, you can put freedom at gunpoint in a foreign land. You support the troops, then bring them home. I believe that you will do the best for you, and I believe that we have the power, I hate the state, and I know I'm a slave. We can make the break the power. Society owes individuals nothing more than non-interference with natural rights. Once a virtuous person fully comprehends the non-aggression principle, the violence of the state becomes obsolete.